I was a writer. Even at that young age, I used to write my own little stories. And I said, this is like the most amazing story of all time. Like, and then like, oh my God, wait, that's his dad? Like,
welcome to the No Guilt Fangirls podcast, where liking what you like is never a bad thing. Here's your host and head fangirl in charge, Patty Holiday.
Hey y'all, welcome to the No Guilt Fangirls podcast. I'm your host and head fangirl in charge, Patty Holiday. And we're doing something different. This is something brand new and I'm super excited about it. Welcome to the first episode where we fangirl Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. Now, I know that sounds a little crazy, but why are we fangirling Galaxy's Edge? What is Galaxy's Edge? Okay, so if you don't know, Galaxy's Edge is the newest land that is currently open at Disneyland, and it's going to open over at Walt Disney World in August. So why? Because it's awesome. It's Star Wars. Do I really need to go any further with this? And also, as a side note, I have 2 trips planned to the planet of Batuu. So this is also for a little bit of my personal gratification. I'm excited about it. I've been talking about this nonstop for probably the last month. And part of the reason I've been talking about it is this first guest that I have with us today. Amira, it's your fault. This is absolutely your fault. And I'll get to that story in just a minute. But as a little background for anyone who's new around here, I like a little Disney. Okay, I like a lot of Disney. So fangirling the Disney parks was bound to happen. But, you know, it's just such a huge topic. And I wanted to cut it down to specific chunks. And what better place, what better land, what better chunk to start with than something that I also love, which is Star Wars. And that means Galaxy's Edge. So that's what we're going to do. And we're going to talk about what it means to the Star Wars fandom. I have today a special guest, one of my girls that I just love. This is Amira Martin. Hi, Amira.
hi, I am so excited to be on this show.
I'm so glad you're here. Amira is one of the co-hosts of The Geekly Show, which you can see every Tuesday on Facebook at 11 a.m. Eastern. I never miss an episode because they're so great. You can also kind of find her, I don't know, all over the internet. I'll let her give all her details, but all of her blogging content is at forhatsandfrugal.com. Amira, tell us a little bit about yourself and where the people can find you online.
Sure. Well, my name is Amira and I am the owner of forhatsandfrugal.com. I'm also the co-owner, which is apropos to this episode, of the Star Wars Moms Facebook group. Yes. So that was obviously put together because there are many of us out there that happen to be moms, but also happen to be avid Star Wars fans, fanatics. So we have a good time in that group. And I kind of like Disney too, like you, my friend Patty, just a tiny bit.
Just a little
bit. Just a little bit. So I am the founder of the Disney Moms of Color community. So we do have a Facebook group page. And we do have a website too, which, you know, is a little dormant. But we'll be getting that up and going very soon. And same thing with our YouTube channel. So I like Disney. It loves me back. And I really, really love Star Wars. And I'm like excited that we're going to get to talk about both today with one of my friends who I love to geek out about this with. So,
Amira, we mentioned the Star Wars group on one of the other podcasts. I think it was the Harry Potter one. Sarah has a Wizarding Moms group. And of course, you know about our Marvel Moms group. And we gave you guys credit. We were like, we basically stole this idea from the Star Wars Moms. So it's a great, fantastic group. Come find us on Facebook and join because it's a lot of fun hanging out in there with these fellow Star Wars fans. You know, I haven't been to Galaxy's Edge yet, and I am in the middle of planning 2 trips. One trip was planned and has been planned for months. I am going to D23 Expo, which is happening towards the end of August at Anaheim, which obviously is next door to Disneyland. So I'm going to find my way to Batuu during that trip. That one was already planned. This other one though, I have to blame Amira for. I am not exaggerating in any stretch of the imagination. I was live following your content as you were walking into Batuu and as you were experiencing it during the media previews for the first time at Disneyland. And it was the pictures, it was the comments, it was the information you were sharing. It was all of that made me whip out my phone, text my friend and say, hey, you've got that reservation for opening day at Disney World. You got space in the room for me, right? And next thing I know, I was booking tickets and I'm going to be at Disney World for opening day because of you. So job well done. Now, tell me a little bit, first of all, before we get to how you experienced Galaxy's Edge, tell me a little bit about your background, because I have always known you as the Star Wars mom, but I don't know how you became that. Like, where did this all start? I have just always equated Amira Martin with Star Wars.
Sure. Okay. So this is I love when people ask me this question, and they'll ask me generally, when did you become a Disney fan? And then it always leads into Star Wars because I'm just so passionate about it. So the two ages that were pretty pivotal in my whole life, which seems weird to say, are 7 and 8. So at the age of 7, my mom took me to see my very first Disney film, which was Bambi, which I feel like was the most awful thing to take your 7-year-old to see for their first time experiencing Disney in a theater. But
yeah, it's pretty rough.
I will still give her props. She helped me fall in love with all things Disney by seeing Bambi and this orphan kind of going through life. Oh my goodness. So 7 was that age. And also at the age of 7 was the first time my parents took me to Walt Disney World. So, and that was just beyond, I couldn't believe that there was a place like that. And that, you could see princesses in real life and you can go on all these thrill rides. And I was tall enough to go. Like, it was a magical place where I'm tall enough to go on all of these things. So they started it. So I blame everything on them.
Okay, fair.
They're the reason why I spend all this money on anything Disney and taking my own children. And then at the ripe old age of 8, my dad introduced me to Star Wars. Now, we were Trekkies up until that point. I was a born Trekkie. My dad loved Star Trek. I still love Star Trek. Like, I was a Trekkie. You could quiz me on anything Star Trek up until that point. And then my dad said, you know what? You really love this and you're such a good daughter. Because I would sit and watch any Star Trek anything with him. I was his buddy. I would go to the movies with him. My mom was like, I don't want to watch any of that stuff. Take your daughter. So like, he took me to all the Star Trek films. And even up until this day, I don't live close to him anymore. We're 2 states away, but I was always his Star Trek buddy. So any movie that came out, I was the one that went with dad. But then he said, you know what, let me introduce you to Star Wars. And I had heard of Star Wars, obviously, but I had never actually sat down to watch the saga. And my dad made that happen. I think it was VHS tapes. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, I'm sorry, Dad. Like, you've lost me. There was a princess, but she saved herself, and there was blasters and lightsabers, and it was very Shakespearean, and I was big into English. Is still my favorite. Yeah, it was my favorite subject in school. I was a writer, even at that young age. I used to write my own little stories, and I said, "This is like the most amazing story of all time." Like, and then like, oh my God, wait, that's his dad? Like, it was insane how much I reacted to it. And I don't think my dad expected that from me. But he really did lose me. And I was like, I'll still be your Star Trek buddy, but please understand that this is my new life now. And that's how I've been since the age of 8. I've been that way. I've, fought with boys about Star Wars, and you're not a real Star Wars fan because you're a girl and you're Princess Leia. I was like, I don't have to be Leia if I don't want to. Like, I went through that whole thing that we go through when you're a girl who is part of a fandom that is very male based. And I think that toughened me up a bit too, which was nice. Since the age of 8, I have been like obsessed obsessed with Star Wars. So almost 30 years of being obsessed with Star Wars.
And I love the fact that it ties back to your dad and even your mom, because your mom didn't want to mess with it. So she threw it your way,
pretty
right?
much. She's like, yeah.
If she had been willing to go to those movies or to sit and watch that with you may not have pulled into it at such a young age. So thanks, Mom, for not having any interest in this whatsoever.
And for taking me to see a movie about an orphan. Yeah. She gets all the props.
Moms are the best, I tell you. That's really cool because like I said, I never heard that story, and I knew Dad was pivotal in your life with like comic books, which is a whole nother discussion that we will do some other day about Marvel. And I don't think, do you like DC? I can't remember if I've ever heard you comment on DC's particularly. All I know is Marvel, but I didn't know for sure about you and DC. So
Batman, I do love the Batman comics. My dad had those, so I did embrace those, but I'm a Marvel girl through and through.
All right. Hey, I respect that completely because, I stand on that same side of justice with you. All right. I'm trying to reach back into my stalking Amira Martin online memories to think that you might have actually been. You might have been there. Were you at D23 Expo when they announced?
I was.
Okay, see?
I was there.
Look, I fangirled Amira from afar. Okay, so I was there too. So I had that experience of being in the room when they announced. And I think you were there on a press trip. So you probably weren't able to do what I did, which was I jumped up and ran out of the room because I was overcome with this excitement and this thing that I wanted so badly to happen. Because at that point in my Disney experience, I had drunk all the Kool-Aid. I was completely in love with the way they tell stories, and I couldn't figure out for the life of me why they hadn't done a Star Wars land. I mean, I knew there was probably reasons, and I knew in theory, I knew all the history of Disneyland and how it was set up, and that actually having something that was one IP like this was going to be different and was going to not be the norm for a Disney. But I was like, but it's Star Wars. Know, any other thing I can fight with all the purists and maybe possibly agree with you. But when it came to Star Wars, it's Star Wars. Like this is the end all beat all, right? And I knew that if anybody could tell a story and bring Star Wars into a brand new story and give us something different, it would be Disney, and that needed to happen. So I was in the room at D23 Expo when that happened, but I was only there long enough to hear that it was coming. It was coming to both parks, and then I ran out and started posting all over the place on social media. What was your reaction? Did you? There had been rumors, obviously, up to that point, but what were you feeling when they actually announced it to this little inner 8-year-old that'd probably been waiting for it all her life?
Well, I cried, obviously. I mean, what else are you going to do but cry real tears, and also feel extremely overwhelmed by the fact of, like you said, this is Star Wars, this is something that we've all felt they should have done, but how are they going to do this? They cannot mess this up. So it was a little bit of overwhelm, but excitement. And it was kind of like, you think about all the little steps that they've made up until that point. Our family was a big Star Wars weekends family in Walt Disney World. So that was our vacation, Star Wars weekends. It was either that or we were going for the holidays. So we would go in December time or we would go in May for Star Wars weekends. So I started to really piece things together in my brain, oh my gosh, that's why they tried that at Star Wars weekend. Oh, that's why we did it that way. Oh, that's why so-and-so was there for a signing. And then your brain gets kind of overloaded, but you also just remember, first of all, you have 4 years to wait. Girl, slow down, calm down. But you're excited every single. I've been excited since. I know some people were like, "Oh my gosh, this felt like forever for waiting," but not for me. I felt like this was a perfect time to wait because you just built the excitement and it built up. And oh my gosh, we're almost there. And oh, okay, we get another film which will kind of ease us into this again. And oh my goodness, we can watch another show. And they gave us all different types of animated shows. Like they did really well of keeping us excited about possibly being in a land.
Yeah, they did. They definitely kept that information coming out. And it's something that I completely missed, and I am ashamed to admit this, but in my 15 viewings of Solo: A Star Wars Story, which I love, thanks to you, because you said, trust me on this, girl. He's going to be Han Solo. And I said, Amira, you crazy. do you remember all that? And you kept saying, get on this, Patty. And I was like, all right. We'll see, Amira. We'll see if you know what you're talking about. Guys, in Amira, I trust. Okay. I've learned my lesson. If you haven't seen Solo, then please go see this. It's out on Blu-ray. I think it's probably on Netflix still. I don't know, but there is no reason not to watch this movie. Don't listen to the hater fanboys. They're wrong. Yes. They are wrong. Amira is right. They are wrong. But in my most recent viewing of this, which was actually just a week or so ago, I pretty much jumped out of my chair because they mentioned a couple of Batuu references and Black Fire Outpost references in the movie that I missed over a year ago. And I couldn't believe that the big Disney dork in me completely lost. Like, I didn't see that. But look at what they did. They hid that little Easter egg in there in a couple of different places. So guys, go back and watch Solo: A Star Wars Story and pick those up because they're there. They've been, Disney's so smart. They're pulling a Marvel on us. They're planting all these layers of stuff in there. And I'm so excited.
Yes. Yeah. They did a really good job with Solo on that part. Cause now everybody's so excited now. They're like, okay, I'm going to go watch it. And they were lukewarm. And I was, like you said, I was just pushing. I'm like, listen, trust me. He's perfect. He is perfect. We had the perfect Lando and we had the perfect Han. They did such a good job.
They really did. So yes, we are definitely team Solo, and especially as it now ties to Galaxy Edge. Now that I know this, I'm so excited about it. So let me find out, set the scene for us. I know you were invited as press to come in, and you were one of the first people. This is also why I wanted you to be on this podcast as one of my introductions. You were one of the first people that got to go into the land outside of cast members. Now, I had a zillion cast member friends say, I've been to Galaxy's Edge, but that's all I can say. Like that, they were under strict NDA and they were not allowed to post any pictures or anything. So truly, my first experience was that media trip that you guys were on, where we finally got to see what Galaxy's Edge looked like. And like I said, it was watching your information and getting these texts from our fellow friend that was there with you, telling me just how stinking cool it all was, that made me go, okay, I'm going, period, the end. This is happening. I can't sit this out again. I'm not going to miss opening day at Disney World. So that was my experience of your experience. But I want to hear, how you felt. What did you, and I had actually told Tanya when she said that she was getting to go with you, I told her that I was a little bit jealous. Not because of going to Galaxy's Edge. I was jealous because she was going to get to watch your face as you walked in. I wanted that experience. I wanted to see some of these big Star Wars fans that I know and love. I wanted to kind of sit back and watch, how you reacted and how you responded.
Well, I mean, the way that we went in was a little different than how you're going to experience the land, because we were, press and media. They kind of took us a back way, and we came around and we kind of saw the Millennium Falcon, which is obviously the very best part of seeing that land and experience it. And we saw it on our left. So I think you guys will see it on your right as you enter. Okay. So the way that we came in was a little bit different. So we had a while to walk before we could even see, the Falcon, and they were trying to get us on Smuggler's Run. So it was a little sped up. So in that moment, it was just kind of I don't know. Some of you may not get this meme if you haven't seen it, but there's a meme of Oprah Winfrey, and it's at the top it says, I don't know, you decide. And you see Oprah, she's like holding her head and like there's this warp speed behind her. Like, oh my gosh, I can't make this decision right now. That's how I felt. Like, how am I supposed to decide where to look first?
Right.
So it was very, I had an adrenaline rush, really, because it was a lot of it you were seeing and you felt like you were in a different planet because these were things you've never seen before. And you're like, what is that? And you're trying to figure out, is that a building or is that a hideaway or what is that? What's over there? And I really didn't have any time to process it because they were trying to get us on the Millennium Falcon. So I couldn't I couldn't take the moment. So I know everybody's thinking, oh my gosh, when you first go in, I heard that a lot from my friends, like, you're going to have that moment where you just cry. And I was like, I didn't have that moment. And I'm kind of okay with that. Like, I'm okay with the fact that the very first time I really had a chance to sit and realize where I was when I was in Han's seat on the Millennium Falcon. Like that,
dude.
I know, right? I mean, that's where the feeling came in. Was I sat there and she, like, when you go on Smuggler's Run, I'm sure you guys have heard this so far if you've been like stalking Galaxy's Edge and how that all works. When you go on Smuggler's Run, you're given a little card and you're given your station on as a crew member. So you have 2 pilots, you have 2 gunners, and you have 2 engineers. So you're just given the card. They face it down, so you don't even know what you're getting. And I just walked up, and she gave me the card, and I turn it over, and I see left pilot. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, don't cry. You're here on business. You can't cry right now.
I am a professional. I will not cry.
And I was like, okay, all right, don't freak out. So of course we had to get all the pictures. And then that's when I had a chance to breathe once we actually sat down before we started the attraction. And I was like, this is really happening. Like, I just walked through Batuu. I'm on a different planet. I am on the Millennium Falcon. I'm about to be on a mission and I get to sit in Han's seat. And I said, okay, girl, you can't cry right now, but you better rock this. And I didn't. I was awful. But that's when it really, like, it hit me there. And then when I actually cried, because I did, was when our little 4-hour time slot was up and they were kicking us out. We were the very last ones. Like, literally, they were kicking us out so nicely because it's Disneyland, but they were like, listen, you gotta go. Like, it's 7 p.m. You gotta get out of here. And I have bags in my left hand. I have a droid that I built on my own in my right hand. And Tanya took a picture of me for me. And then I turned back and I looked and I saw that there was no one in Batuu and it was empty. And I lost it. I was like, that really just happened. That really just happens. And that's how you're going to feel. You're going to feel like at the end of the day, once you're done in visiting this whole new planet, you're going to go, oh my gosh, that really just, because you'll be back on Earth and you're like, did I really just do that?
Oh,
I
man.
did. I really did that. It's an amazing feeling because it doesn't hit you like you think it's going to hit you. It hits you in the most perfect way possible.
Dude, I see I can't wait. I can't wait. I mean, it's total first world problems that I have to wait until August to go. But, but I can't help it. I want it now. That's actually really good to hear because in my head, my experience, we don't know what it's going to be like with Disneyland and the D23 Expo crowds. And, are they going to still be doing these virtual queue reservations at that point? Like, I am not sure how everything is going to play out for when I get that shot at Disneyland. Flip over to Disney World. They haven't said boo yet. They haven't explained how this is going to happen. So at Disney World, as of this exact moment, all I have in my mind is that it's going to be that, that mad rush of people. And if I happen to be in the first group, I know I'm going to be swept up in that mad rush of people going, I gotta go. And I'm not going to have that time to like stop and look and feel and whatever. So I kind of have a feeling that might be my first impressions as well, as more of the kind of craziest. And it'll be sometime later that I'll be sitting down somewhere, someplace, and that will be what hits me. That's when that moment will come. So that's good kind of reminder that it may not look like what you think it's going to look like. That moment that you're expecting may come somewhere else. It may be something different, right? It doesn't
Right.
necessarily have to be when you walk in the land. But I will say, I will most likely not get that experience of turning around and seeing nobody else in Batuu. But by the time we get there, I have a feeling there's just going to be so many Batuu residents and so many people hanging out on planet that we're not going to see that empty Batuu. I'm not going to have that, but that's okay. That is way okay. I'm just so excited that this exists, especially after talking to you guys and hearing your experience of it. Now, I've been challenging people. This is my challenge for everybody through this whole mini series, is I a one word reaction that does not use the word immersive.
Detailed.
Okay. In the details. The story is in the details, which is one of those things that Disney does so well. If it's in the movies, if it's Pixar, if it's the lands, it's the details, right?
Oh, absolutely. I feel like if you keep that word in mind every time you visit, like I can't wait to go back, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But I know like I will find something that I didn't see before, and it'll be something so mundane and tiny, but I will remember, seeing that little symbol or something, maybe when I watched Clone Wars or like I know I'm going to see something every single time I go that I did not see the last time, which is I love that they were extremely detailed about everything that they put in that land.
It's well, your experience with this too. Whenever people say, can I do everything at Disney World in 3 days or 4 days? And I'm like, no, I've been going since I was born, and I still can't tell you that I have seen and done everything at Disney World or Disneyland. It's impossible because of all these details and everything that they do. So yeah, I look forward to that too. And that's my other small trepidation is that due to timing, I literally am going to be popping in and out of the land on both trips. Like I'm not going to have this, I'm not going to have that luxury of spending a whole week at Disney to go back time and time again. So I know I'm going to miss a lot, but hey, that's what my annual pass is for. I can make these trips and make more experiences happen, which is also why Disney has me in their clutches, because they know that's how my brain is wired, is I got to go back. So, I'll be going back. You know that. I know that.
Yes.
Do you have anything like one major takeaway from visiting Batuu? Anything, I don't know, that was maybe a personal moment or thought that you had while you were there? Maybe something about how Disney is handling the story specifically, because this is kind of a new story for us. Like I know there's comics and there's books out with Batuu in it now, but as far as the average Star Wars fan moviegoer, we haven't seen Batuu yet, except for those references in Solo. So, was there anything like from a personal aspect that kind of meant something to you or did anything to you other than the getting to fly in Han's seat?
Well, I have to say, even though it's kind of like the place where obviously they would want you to spend money, is the market. So the market is pretty fantastic in terms of, if you really want to get the feel of what it's like to be such a huge fan and just dream about possibly just being dropped in the middle of any Star Wars show or book or film, I think just walking up and down the market and the marketplace is where you'll actually feel that. Okay. So I want everybody to at least give that a try. There's so many other things that I know everybody will be rushing to. Like everybody wants to rush to Savi's and everybody wants to build their droid at a droid depot, and you want to ride Smuggler's Run like 3 times. But I feel like that is kind of the hidden secret, is walking up and down that market. Okay. Because you feel as if maybe this feels familiar to you because we've all shopped before. But it's also the cast members or the inhabitants that live there. That's where they're on stage. Their reactions to you reacting to what you're seeing in each little shop is what you're going to really fall in love with. It was very cool to actually experience that. And I want people to at least give yourself like 20 minutes just to walk through and just let them react to you reacting to what you're seeing. And then it'll click that you are definitely on a different planet. It'll click that these little tiny nuances and details are for you as the visitor. It's not just a big Batuu Galaxy's Edge thing. It's literally for your reaction to what you're experiencing at the moment. And they do it so well in the market. So well. So I just make sure you spend some time there. You don't have to buy anything, but spend some time in there, react to certain things, go to the Toydarian Toy Maker. Like that's my favorite is the Toydarian Toy Maker because there's so many little tiny toys and instruments, and depending on what inhabitant is near the area, they may actually do some fun things with you over there. So I loved it there.
You know how extra I can be. And so this, like, hearing you describe that has my mind spinning. I'm like, well, I want a backstory too. I want to show up wearing some smuggler's gear or something and see if they'll talk to me and give me some tips on where I can go hide. I want to be a part of the role, because
yes.
That's what I think is making Batuu so different. There's a bazillion ways that this is different than anything else I've ever done, but that's one of the, like, for example, this is how it's different than, say, going to Diagon Alley at Universal Studios, Universal Orlando. I've been there multiple times, and there's been some attempt by the team members there to kind of say things, in character, but not really, not to the extent that it feels like they're doing here at Galaxy's Edge. And I think that's, why it's clicking to that one more spot of you are on a planet. They don't know Star Wars. They just know history. They just know, that's their history. And so, it's those things that just makes me fall in love with Disney so much more. And I obviously give Disney all my money because that's how I show my love. And now I will have to go back and make sure I use that annual pass multiple times because this is, they've really, it sounds just so positive. Everybody has been saying how just incredible the entire experience has been. I mean, I have heard, because of our mutual friend who doesn't like some of the food and some of the snacks, and I know you know about that because you had to hear her complain about that a little bit. Not mentioning any names, but other than that, I really haven't heard anything negative about Galaxy's Edge. And this is talking to people who aren't even Star Wars fans. Now, have you talked to a non-Star Wars fan yet? And what would you tell them if they're thinking of skipping it, or if they're thinking they don't need to go?
Yeah, I mean, I've talked to quite a few because they're like, listen, I'm not really into this, or their kids may be into it, but they're not. And they're like, should I even put in? I'm like, yes, put in the effort, put in it. And here's why. Here's my dissertation on why you need to go to Galaxy's Edge. And it's exactly like you said. Disney has literally created a whole new planet for us to visit. And it's not a place where you have to be a fan, which I enjoy because you can walk around and you're going to experience the characters. Like we all know Kylo walks around, who is my boyfriend. I love him. And Rey is there and you'll see Chewbacca, and that's all cool. We all love that. And it's awesome that on Batuu, they do walk around. Like it's not like a meet and greet or anything like that. They are there visiting the planet like you're visiting. But it's a place where you'll be able to kind of feel like you're separated from everything else that's happening in the parks. And you don't have to know every little detail about the Millennium Falcon to be on Smuggler's Run. Like you're on there and you're a pilot. That's all you need to know. You just need to listen to Hondo. He'll tell you what to do and you'll have a good time. And you don't need to know everything about building a droid. It's just an experience that you're having, and you get to have it and you get to experience it with your kids or not, or by yourself. It's not built for the Uber fan, which is kind of awesome. I really love that. It's not. It's built for you wanting to experience something you've never experienced before. And here, we're going to plop you on a whole different planet, and you get to meet new people. You get to experience things you never thought you'd get to experience. And if you are a fan, there are little details all around. There's Arabesh everywhere for you to decipher, but you don't have to know any of that. All you have to know is that I'm going to go and really have a good time here. And there's so many different places for me to have a good time, for me to eat, for me to sit down if I'm tired. It's just an experience. It's an experience that Disney wants you to have. Just like anyone who's not a real big Disney fan and they go and visit Disney parks and they still come out of it and they're like, oh my gosh, I had a great time. I didn't know half the people there. Like, I don't know all the princesses and, I don't know every single Pixar character, but Pixar Pier was awesome. Like, I had a good time. And that's what Disney always wants for us, for anybody that's visiting for the first time or the 1,000th time, is that you are leaving saying, I had a good time. And that's what Batuu is. You're going to have a good time.
I have so many friends that are like, well, I'm not a Disney person, but yet I'm going on my 17th trip to Disney World. And I'm like, guess what, sweetie? You a Disney person. Because you're exactly right. They do cater to everyone. Yes, there are going to be those of us insane fans who, do the ears and do the crazy costumes and cosplays and want to be part of the story like me. I'm like, can I please just be a cast member? Somebody hire me. But there is going to be that. But then they do cater to those that just want to have an ultimate experience when it comes to customer service and when it comes to things you can't experience outside of that Disney bubble, right? And that's what they do so well. So
right.
I think that's a really good explanation on how to talk to somebody who's not quite sure they need to go to Batuu. I think everybody needs to go to Batuu. Not while I'm going to be there, so you guys can wait a couple of days. I'll put out my dates so that you guys don't go rushing while I'm there because, I'd like some space. But outside of that, you're welcome to come to Batuu at any time. Just kidding, Disney. I know everybody's coming and it's going to be madhouse and I'm going to love every second of it because that's also who I am. I like that stuff. I'm really weird that way. All right, guys. Well, we are going to go ahead and wrap up this segment of the No Guilt Fangirls podcast. I had a ton of fun talking with Amira as always. And I'm hoping she'll come back and chat with us again in the future.
Sure, of course. Yeah.
Star Wars, no Star Wars. You pick the topic. You are welcome to come on back and fangirl out with us over anything you want to talk about. And if you liked what you heard today on this or any of the other episodes, please remember to leave that 5-star review and to subscribe so you don't miss anything in the future. Leaving those reviews help other fangirls find us because, there's the algorithms and all that mess that happens. And literally, if somebody sees more 5 stars, then they are more inclined to at least take a look and to check things out. So I super appreciate it if you can take the minute to go ahead and do that. Don't forget that every Monday, I bring you the movie reviews on the Monday Movie Minute. And every Thursday, you'll find me fangirling with a guest or two, just like this. And in this particular case, this Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, we've kind of got this mini series going on, and there's going to be 4 total episodes. So if you have not gotten enough of Galaxy's Edge, and I know you haven't because there is no such thing, please be sure to continue binging on because I'm going to release all of these episodes at the same time and just go do a deep dive with me in Galaxy's Edge because there's so much to talk about. I actually have a couple of really big Star Wars fans that I interview, as well as 2 folks that did not Star Wars at all. Like they were really not down with this. And yet now they have forwarded their mail to Batuu. That is what happened to them after they went on planet. That's the power of this planet. So it can change lives, people. That's all I'm saying. Thanks for hanging out with us in a galaxy far, far away on the No Guilt Fangirls podcast this week. And we hope you'll come back to fangirl with us real soon. Thanks, Amira.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.